This is Russia, and to the right of the country is Siberia, but many people do not know how large that part of the country is. Shown in blue on the map, it covers 77% of the landmass of Russia. However, population-wise, Siberia is responsible for only 23% of the total population of the massive country. However, the sparse population is not the only strange thing about Siberia, because many mysterious things happen in that massive and cold region. In this video, we bring you the terrifying discoveries scientists have made under Siberia. The massive size of Siberia notwithstanding, scientists have been busy conducting research in the unique environment of the cold region. They have come up with many amazing discoveries, and some of them will outrightly terrify you. Not only that, but some of these findings will affect you anywhere you live. But to really appreciate these intriguing discoveries, you need to know the kind of place Siberia is. So what exactly does Siberia look like, especially to an outsider that is not used to the region? The fact is that most of Russia is in Siberia, as the region covers 3/4 of the massive country. However, because of the few people living there, Siberia is one of the least populated areas in the entire world. It has somewhere between 7 and 8 people per square mile. You might have heard about the cold temperature in Siberia and even seen pictures of the inhabitants tightly bundled up in thick clothing for protection. During the winter, the temperature may drop to -94 degrees Fahrenheit or -70 degrees Celsius. However, it is not always cold in Siberia, and in the summer months, temperatures could reach 95 degrees Fahrenheit or 35 degrees Celsius. This weather is due to the continental climate of the area, characterized by cold winters and warm summers. According to evidence, the early humans in Siberia arrived as far back as 125,000 years ago. In 2010, archaeologists discovered a human bone belonging to a hybrid of a Denisovan and Neanderthal in the Altai Mountains of Siberia. Siberian lands have long been home to indigenous groups, including the Nivki, the Evenki, and the Buryat. Siberia has many natural wonders, including Lake Baikal, the largest freshwater lake by volume in the world. In fact, this lake accounts for over 20% of the world's fresh surface water. It is also the deepest lake in the world, with a depth of 5,387 feet or 1,642 meters. Because of the enormous size of Lake Baikal, it is sometimes called the Baikal Sea. The lake is entirely surrounded by mountains, and more than 330 rivers feed water into it. The entire lake freezes over each winter, with ice as thick as 6.5 feet or 2 meters in some places. In the summer, storms form waves that can reach 14.8 feet or 4.5 meters high. Siberia is home to extra-large snowflakes. In the Siberian city of Bratsk, scientists have reported snowflakes measuring 12 inches or 30.5 centimeters in diameter. Other parts of Siberia experience a type of snowfall called diamond dust. That is snow made of very thin, needle-shaped icicles. If you live long enough in this cold place, you can have the same skill some Siberians have that can help them estimate the temperature based on the squeaking sound made when snow is stepped on. The principle is that the sound is more audible in lower temperatures. This sound is produced by snow particles squashing together and breaking. Siberia is critical to the economy of Russia. The majority of Russian crude oil and natural gas come from western Siberia, where natural reserves spread over more than 2 million square kilometers. In short, Russia is one of the world's largest natural gas exporters because of its Siberian territories. One of the things that have baffled scientists in Siberia is what appears as wounds on the cold surface of the ground. We are talking about the exploding craters of Siberia. These craters appear suddenly and explosively, leaving a ragged pockmark on the landscape. When they occur, they can throw up a mixture of materials, including dirt, out to hundreds of meters from the epicenter, thanks to the huge amount of force. If you observe the crater's edge, you will notice the earth is a torn, gray jumble of ice and clods of permafrost. Also, the roots of plants exposed around the edge exhibit signs of scorching. This was where scientists started their investigations of these deadly outbursts from the ground surface from. From the air, the freshly exposed dirt stands out against the green tundra and dark lakes around it. The layers of earth and rock exposed further inside the cylindrical hole are almost black, and a pool of water will already be formed at the bottom by the time the scientists reach it. One of such holes was discovered in a sparsely populated corner of the Yamal Peninsula in northwest Siberia. This 164-foot deep or 50-meter hole attracted scientists who wanted to uncover the origin of this strange phenomenon, including Evgeny Chuvalin, a geologist based in Moscow. The hole was discovered by helicopter pilots flying overhead around 26 miles or 42 kilometers from the Bivan-Enkovo gas field on the Yamal Peninsula. This illustrates the extreme dangers of these holes, as they could cause lots of hazards when they explode under a gas facility. The scientists who visited it, including Mariana Liebman, chief scientist of the Earth Cryosphere Institute, who has been studying the permafrost in Siberia for more than 40 years, described it as an entirely new feature in permafrost. Another such crater was discovered by a TV crew as they flew past with a team of scientists from the Russian Academy of Sciences during an expedition with local authorities in Yamal. So far, not less than 17 of these holes have been documented in Yamal and Gaidan. Scientists have yet to find a satisfactory answer to the question of what is causing these explosions in Siberia. Now, even though Siberia is cold today, the region has been invaded by aliens before. Of course, there were no green men, and neither were there unidentified flying objects or UFOs. The region was actually hit by an asteroid. On the last day of June 1908, Siberia received a violent and unusual visitor, the largest asteroid impact in recorded history. The event is marked every year as the Tunguska explosion. The explosion happened over the sparsely populated northern forest land above the Tunguska River in what is called Krasnoyarsk Krai today. How massive was the asteroid that visited Siberia? Scientists estimated it was the size of a 25-story building. The asteroid was coming in at a speed of about 33,500 miles or 54,000 kilometers per hour. The blast produced enough energy to annihilate reindeer, flattening out about 80 million trees spread over an area of 830 square miles or 2,150 square kilometers. Eyewitnesses said they saw a fireball, a bluish light that was almost as bright as the sun, streaking across the sky. A flash and a sound similar to artillery fire followed, and a mighty shockwave broke windows hundreds of miles away and even knocked people off their feet. However, despite the size of the impact, mysteriously, no crater has ever been found that marks the point of contact with the Earth. Even with no crater, scientists maintain this event produced an impact. The prevailing theory is that the incoming asteroid never struck Earth, and what happened was that it exploded in the atmosphere, causing what scientists call an airburst. This type of atmospheric explosion was still enough to cause massive damage to the forest in the region. The explosion took place between 3 and 6 miles or 5 and 10 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. The explosion at Tunguska did make astronomers take the possibility of a catastrophic strike by a comet or asteroid seriously. They now have observing programs to watch for near-Earth objects, or NEOs as they're called. At regular meetings, they discuss what might happen if we do find a large object on a collision course with Earth. However, Siberia is full of strange, unexplainable mysteries, some of which can affect the whole world. For example, how do you feel about a 30,000-year-old virus coming back to life? And not just a virus, but a jumbo-sized virus. The ancient pathogen was discovered buried 30 meters 100 feet down in the frozen ground. Called Pithovirus sibericum, it belongs to a class of giant viruses discovered 10 years ago. This virus is wider in diameter than the other giant viruses discovered at 600 nanometers versus 500. It has a genome of 600,000 base pairs. Imagine the rungs on the DNA ladder which hold the genetic instructions to create 500 proteins. The virus is so large that unlike other viruses, it can be seen under a microscope. The last time it infected anything was more than 30,000 years ago, but in the laboratory, it has sprung to life once again. Tests show that it attacks amoebas. But why should you be concerned about this discovery if Siberia is thousands of miles away from you? It is because, as researchers put it, this is a recipe for disaster. They believe there could be more dangerous pathogens locked in the permafrost. Since the 1970s, the permafrost has retreated and reduced in thickness, and climate change projections suggest it will decrease further. It has also become more accessible and is being eyed for its natural resources. Experts warn that exposing the deep layers could expose new viral threats. Professor Jean-Michel Claverie from the National Center of Scientific Research warns, "It is a recipe for disaster. If you start having industrial explorations, people will start to move around the deep permafrost layers. Through mining and drilling, those old layers will be penetrated, and this is where the danger is coming from." For example, ancient strains of the smallpox virus, which was declared eradicated 30 years ago, could pose a risk because if these viruses survive in the same way those amoeba viruses survive, then smallpox is not eradicated from the planet, only stopped on the surface. By going deeper, we may reactivate the possibility that smallpox could become a disease of humans again. Fortunately, the Sibericum virus poses no danger to humans because it can't infect other animals or us, but other viruses could be unleashed as the ground becomes exposed. Meanwhile, another mystery is unfolding right inside the waters in Siberia as fishermen report catching pikefish with horns. Two of such strangely formed fish were caught in the river Irtysh by Alexei Volkov, who called his catch underwater dragons. Volkov and his neighbors have blamed radiation and pollution caused by the fuel inside the debris from the space rocket launch sites at Baikonur in nearby Kazakhstan. Some of the debris fall inside the river. A now unused zirconium plant is also close to where Volkov caught the fish, as reported by the Super Omsk news agency. Volkov from Tara said the larger fish had 2 horns, while the smaller one had 4. He said, "I was impressed with the catch. The fish were 14 kilograms and 7 kilograms. They had horns bent back towards their tail. The smaller fish had 4 horns. Both fish were immediately nicknamed dragons." Other anglers advised Volkov not to eat these strange fish, but Volkov ate them anyway. However, he dried and preserved the bizarre heads which you can find in his garage. What effect the fish may have on Volkov's health is yet to be seen. However, locals have blamed strange illnesses in babies born in the area on the pollution from the rocket launch site. Siberia also held the oldest permafrost ever discovered. This find was courtesy of an international team of researchers. The permafrost layer is located near the eastern Siberian village of Batagay. It has been frozen at a depth of about 50 meters for the past 650,000 years. This is the oldest ever recorded. The team, which included German, Russian, and English researchers, was led by Julian Merton from the University of Sussex. The finding is highly critical because it shows that even during warmer periods, permafrost doesn't necessarily have to thaw entirely. The Batagay apparently survived a particularly warm phase roughly 130,000 years ago, when it was 4 to 5 degrees Celsius warmer in the Arctic summer than today. But what is permafrost? It is ground that is soil or rock and includes ice or organic material that remains at or below 0 degrees Celsius for at least 2 consecutive years. The problem with the thawing of permafrost is that it activates bacteria that begin breaking down the ancient biomass and, through their metabolic processes, release the climate-relevant gases carbon dioxide and methane. The more intensive the thawing, the more gas is released. With regard to ongoing climate change, experts fear that this aspect could worsen the greenhouse effect. The discovery also has pointed scientists to the sensitivity of permafrost to anthropogenic disturbances. The 650,000-year-old Batagay permafrost is situated on a hill slope at a depth of about 50 meters, where the temperature remains stable at -10 degrees Celsius. But from the 1940s to the 1960s, the slope was partly cleared and used by heavy tracked vehicles as a road to reach a nearby mine. This caused the permafrost to lose its protective and insulating plant cover. As a result, the younger permafrost began thawing near the surface in summer until the ground finally began sliding away, uncovering the older permafrost. For years, meltwater has transported the thawed material downhill, forming a large crater known as the Batagayka crater. Sadly, once the damage is done, you can't repair it because the exposed permafrost thaws even more with every summer. In the past 50 years, the megaslump has grown to a width of about 900 meters. Do you believe in unicorns? If yes, you may want to find your way to Siberia. Scientists have for the first time analyzed the DNA of an extinct unicorn in Siberia and realized everyone had been wrong about the mysterious beast. But the discovery reveals a chilling fact that can affect our food supply today. Contrary to what was previously believed, the ancient rhinoceros didn't perish 200,000 years ago before the last ice age. The strange animal survived much longer, only disappearing as recently as 36,000 years ago. In fact, there is no reason they couldn't have lived alongside modern humans. Also, the Siberian unicorn was not closely related to modern rhinos. It was a different lineage that split from the line that led to the rhinos of today over 40 million years ago. The confusion had been due to a lack of fossil records. Only a few fragmented bones have been recovered, and apart from revealing the size of the beast, which was about 3.5 tons or the size of a smaller African elephant, they have been difficult to analyze. For example, part of a skull that was described in a 2016 paper was radiocarbon dated up to 29,000 years ago, but the result could not be relied upon because there was a minute amount of collagen. However, the scientists also discovered that humans were not responsible for the disappearance of the animal. The animals died off during a period of climate change which, although not severe, altered plant life. While other animals survived by changing from a diet of grass, the ancient rhino could not do the same and hence died. Scientists say the most worrying aspect of this discovery is the fact that climate change doesn't need to be severe to wipe out a whole species of animals. As such, climate change today, which is caused by human activity, threatens our food supply. One of the advantages of the ice-cold climate of Siberia is that it preserves prehistoric animals in remarkable conditions. The thawing of permafrost in Siberia is yielding well-preserved carcasses of ancient animals. One of such discoveries is a 28,000 years old female lion cub named Sparta. Sparta was so young that scientists suspect it still has traces of its mother's milk. Sparta was found in the Samuel-Yark River in Russia's Yakutia region, the same place a second lion cub called Boris was found the year before. And while the cubs were found 15 meters apart, they were not from the same litter. In fact, scientists concluded that thousands of years separated the two young lions. Boris, a male cub, lived around 43,448 years ago. The two cubs, aged 1 to 2 months, were found by mammoth tusk collectors. Two other lion cubs named Uyan and Dina have also been found in the region in recent years. What is special about this find is that cave lions went extinct thousands of years ago, but Sparta was so well preserved that it still had its fur, internal organs, and skeleton. And if a 28,000-year-old lion cub is not old enough for you, another group of scientists found a 40,000 years old severed head of a wolf. And thanks to the permafrost, many details of the animal are preserved. The head was found by a local resident, Pavel Efimov. The wolf is believed to have been between 2 and 4 years old when it died. The head measures 40 centimeters or 15.7 inches long, and the brain is intact. The discovery required international cooperation, as it was Japanese scientists that dated the head as more than 40,000 years old, while scientists at the Swedish Museum of Natural History would study its DNA to learn more about the long-dead animal. Scientists will compare the head to the head of a modern wolf to see how the species has evolved. Siberia seems to have an affinity for aliens because locals at one time reported finding a huge UFO fragment. A metal object the size of a Volkswagen Beetle was discovered near a remote village in Siberia. The object weighs 200 kilograms or 440 pounds. It is cylindrical and capped on one end by a ridged dome. When it was sighted in the forest near the village of Otradnensky, it was attached to a trailer. The spotters dragged it through the snow to their village. They then alerted Moscow authorities, who promptly confiscated it for inspection. An investigation would suggest a less exotic origin for the object. It was partly made from titanium and was not radioactive at all. However, that does not mean they have been able to unravel the object's origin. Let's hear what you think of Siberia in the comments section below.